The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to The Break. It's been a while since... I don't know the song, but...
We're singing today. I didn't know that was happening.
You know what song that is?
No, I have no idea.
It's been a while since... That's it.
Maybe if I heard the real song,
Everybody
I might.
knows that song.
Stained.
What?
Stained.
Stained? Who's that?
That's a very popular song, but I just know that.
That's the name of the song or the name of the band?
The band
Stained.
name's Stained. The song's
gotcha.
It's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and it starts off. It's been a while.
Do you know?
I know the song. I didn't know
So
the
it's just
band. But then again, I mean, nobody's going to be Kent in a battle of.
No.
We've done
absolutely.
that.
And no, nor should they. Like, he is a professional.
Broadus is pretty good at that, too.
Is he?
Yeah.
But only for certain. I would assume that's only for certain time periods.
I don't know. He knows J. Cole or something now.
Well, that's not by choice. Not by choice.
All right, well, we have a lot of things to talk about. I know you guys had an emergency podcast last week.
Emergency.
Yeah, very, very unexpected. Although you guys talked about Jason Witten, I'll be honest, I didn't really listen to the podcast, but we're going to still hit on
Bad
some
teammate.
subject.
She's the definition
I had
of
a
bad
lot
teammate.
going on. I had to write articles.
A lot of
and
people
stuff.
did.
Huh? A lot of people did. Yeah, a lot of people did.
Yeah, they did. They did. So, sorry if we repeat some of the things y'all already hit, but oh well. Let's just start off. Obviously, Jason Witten returned. Very unexpected. I don't think anyone really knew that this was actually happening. So, it took us all by surprise. Now, what does this exactly mean for the Cowboys as far as the change in the position? It was a position of discussion and necessity during this offseason and for the draft. Now, how does this turn things around? People are starting to question, would he be a progress stopper once again?
I think it changes the urgency of the position and I think, there's people here that disagree with that. That you still got to go and maybe draft one. I don't agree with that. I don't think you have to draft a tight end. If you do, that's fine. But let's see what happens with Swaim. I think that they like him. They may want to try to bring him back. But I don't think that you have to go reach for one. Here's a tight end. He's slipping. We got to move up 10 spots to get him. If one falls in your lap, don't turn your nose to it. But you have young tight ends that you like. You have the greatest tight end to ever play it. Also on the team, I don't think you're forced to go get a tight end.
The only thing I think this does, in my opinion, and this is not speaking for the team, in my opinion, the only thing this does is it gives you another year to develop your young talent. So I don't look at this. I think of this as the Cowboys went out and got a veteran tight end to add to their mix. Throw the name out of the window, not Jason Witten. Don't think of it like that. They went out and got a veteran tight end to add to the mix. And to me, if you go out and get a veteran tight end who's 37 years old, to be able to add to the mix on a one-year deal, that means tight end is still an important part for you to be considering how you're going to do it moving forward. They may look at it and say, we think with another year of development, particularly with development and Jason Witten being in the room, Schultz and Schwartz, Schwartz, whatever. I keep getting that mixed. Anyway, him and Blake Jarwin, you give them another year of development with someone with the experience of Jason Witten in that room with them, they actually may end up being good enough for you to be able to play with for next year, year after that, year after that, year after that, right? And so if that's the way they view it, then that works. I don't think, and this is where I differ with you a little bit, Nick, if I were going into the draft this year thinking I need to draft somebody because what I saw from those two guys last year suggests to me that they will never be anything more than a number 2, then I still look at it this year in the draft. I need to get myself a replacement. And that's going to give me a year of that young guy developing because Jason's going to be here for him to be the man by next year, right? So I don't think if I'm the Cowboys, I don't let this change my opinion on what I do for the future of the tight end position at all. If I was going to draft somebody, I'm still going to make it a priority to draft somebody. If I was going to let these two guys develop, I'm still going to let these two guys develop. I just think Jason gives you a little bit of extra to go into the season knowing you got some experience there.
Now, when you look at a guy like Sean Lee and his history of injury and having to be off to the side and kind of coaching the whole group and being in good spirits, now you look at a guy like Jason Witten, who was a guy that never got off the field and was very possessive about his place on the field and his position. Do you think that this would be a year where he would be okay with giving those reps to the younger guys, given that clearly he's not going to be here for a long time as far as playing on the field? Now, as far as repetitions on the field, how much he plays, how much he gives room to those young guys to develop, how do you see this kind of playing out?
Well, he's going to – it comes down to who's the best player. And I think it's as simple as that. I mean, in his mind, for years, he was the best guy. He was the best option. I think he's understanding that now it won't always be the case. I don't
think he's the best player on this tight end group?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And they think that. Everyone, I mean, who doesn't?
No, I don't know. I was just asking your opinion. When you said that, it made me wonder, like, did you think that one of those other guys maybe is better than he is at this point?
No. I just think that it sounds good to say, you know what, Jason, you come in here, you're not going to be the way it was. You need to kind of split time. That sounds good. If he's still head and shoulders above the next best option, then he may not, be off the field that much. I have a feeling he won't be head and shoulders above the next tight end like he has been for so many years.
Right.
I don't think so.
You think he might be better, but it's a slight.
Yeah, I think there'll be room for Schultz and Jarwin to do some stuff, and that's why I continue to disagree on that tight end. You're not really letting those guys develop. I'm not saying don't draft a guy in the 6th or 7th round. You can draft one, but if you draft one in the 3rd or 4th round, I mean, you're getting another Schultz.
Maybe you draft Schultz and you figured out after a year with him, you don't think he's going to. Because here's the thing. For Schultz, at least the way I viewed it, I think last year, particularly as a blocker, I think he has a lot of room to grow. Mm-hmm. Now, part of that is he's going to have to get stronger. He's going to have to maybe get a little bigger this offseason. And that's something you can do. We've seen guys make big jumps between their first and their second year when they're in the offseason program. So I think there's a possibility there. But if they've made the decision, I don't know that they have or have not, but if they've made the decision, we think after working with him for a year, we don't think he's the guy that's actually going to be our future there. You can go back to the well and you can get a 3rd-round pick that may be your future there, because it's not unheard of to think you can get a 3rd-round tight end that ends up being Jason Witten.
I think they like him, though. I do think they like Jarwin and Schultz to the point where this is good for them. Not saying they will not draft a tight end, but I don't think that it'll be a need for them to get one. If somebody is falling, and then you have to look at that, but you would look at that at any position.
Yeah, which again, I'm not saying that they necessarily have to. I'm saying if I were the Cowboys, whatever my plan was before, this decision doesn't change that, because this is still just a 1-year rental. I mean, right now, this is a 1-year deal for Jason Witten. So whatever you do right now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to end up next year, Jason's now out, he's retired at that point, and you didn't do anything to prepare yourself. Now. Like, he may have caught you by surprise a year ago when he decided he was going to go to the booth. Next year should be no surprise that Jason Witten won't be here.
Right.
So whatever you thought you needed to do in order to shore up your tight end position, you better still be doing that, preparing for next year, because next year you probably aren't going to have him.
Right. But I do think that you like, if you think Schultz or Jarwin could maybe be a starter, which I think Jarwin has a chance to do that, then that's why it changes my opinion on what I have to do. But that's no different than what free agency is. Free agency is shoring up some of your needs so you can go into the draft and take best players.
Right. So that's the point. Don't worry about the name Jason Witten. What they did is they got a veteran tight end, and that gives them some flexibility for a year.
And you were able to see, even when Swain went in, the things that he was able to start doing that you hadn't seen before. And even when he got out with the injury, these other guys, Blake and Dalton, were able to start getting to somewhere. It happened later in the year, so there wasn't enough time to see a real growth there, but there was still some growth that you were able to notice, and it is important, those reps on the field, and these guys do need it. Now, for a guy like Jason...
Real quick, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say real quick, I didn't know if you were moving to another topic.
No.
Okay, then go ahead and finish your point.
I was done with that point. I was going to ask another question about Witten.
Okay, well, real quick, I know that Kent just said he has a actual clip of Jerry talking about this particular subject, about the fact of whether they would use a draft pick on a tight end. So why don't we listen to that real quick and just see what Jerry had to say about it.
You worry about Witten being a progress stopper for the young guys, and does that impact your decision on a tight end in the draft?
Not at all. It won't do anything but accentuate what the tight end, what Witten's position can do on our team. It will do that. It won't deter us in any way of using our first pick for a tight end if we have the opportunity to. And I don't look as Witten as a progress stopper. I think when you look at how hopefully we can spread the ball around, put enough stuff in during OTAs, put enough stuff in training camp, call on them as we go through the season, I think that Witten will have his place. He certainly has got his place in what we do in our blocking and protection and running.
All right. So it sounds good.
It
sounds like they at least, like, they almost look at it similar to how I'm saying it, from the standpoint that if they were going to find a tight end, if there was one that was available to them, they certainly wouldn't say, no, let's not worry about that. But maybe not a priority, like, oh my God, we got to do this.
Right.
But I don't know that there are a lot of those this year anyway. I mean, you can talk about safety, you can talk about defensive tackle. Outside of that, I don't know that you look at any position and say, we got to come out of this draft with this player, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's not many positions like that. I would say running back needs to be one of them, though.
I think it should be. I don't know if they believe that, though.
Yeah. Maybe not. I mean, maybe it's addressed in free agency.
Yeah.
But I do
they
think.
They have Olawale.
Olawale is, he's a free agent, actually.
How are you?
Yeah, that's true.
He's a free agent, and he's one of the guys that they'll, I think they're going to try to re-sign him. And from what I hear, maybe give him a little bit of an expanded role. I mean, I know that everyone that's listening needs to calm down from their cheering, because I know they're real excited about when I say Jameis Olawale could be, factor into the running back rotation.
But explain that to me, like, from the standpoint of just how you see it, and and what his value is, how he performed last year. Give me and the other people out there listening a reason to believe that maybe there needs to be he needs to be a guy that they would want to re-sign, because it didn't seem like to me they really used him that much, and it certainly didn't seem like when he did have those opportunities that he really did a ton with it.
No, and I think what they see is, first of all, he led the team in special teams tackle, so somebody has to do that. He did that. He's a big running back. I don't know exactly I would say 230 or so, 225. He's one of the fastest players on the team. Not that many people knew that.
Whoa.
Yep.
Like, seriously? When you say one of the fastest, like one of the top 10, one of the top 20, like, are you talking like one of the top 3?
He's 6'1", 242. I think he runs in the 4.4 range, 4.4, 4.5. He's fast. He's super fast.
Wow.
That's why he's leading the team. He's running down there, and he's big. He's a big guy. He's built like a linebacker. I think now we all remember the Colts game where the ball went through. I mean, it looked like he dropped.
That's
closed
what I
his
was
eyes.
thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he had like a couple passes thrown his way, and he dropped it. But I do think that he's a guy that they're looking at to sort of return at the running back position, maybe get a few more carries there. There's not a lot of carries to go around. I mean, I'm just saying he might be like their third guy. It does sound like Rod Smith has played his last game with the Cowboys. So, that's what free agency's, happening right there. He's not going to change you from drafting someone, but I just think, you actually mentioned him, but he'll be a guy that you throw in there. Am I missing some plays? Oh, no. Jameis. No,
that's the actual.
Very different.
Oh, here we go.
No.
Yeah, we're watching the play of Jameis Olawale. That ball, man.
He got open.
Close.
I mean, he got open. So there's something for
Could have
that.
been a touchdown.
Yeah. And Dak takes the heat. Dak's the quarterback. He gets shut out. And
I'm pretty sure you killed him that day, didn't you?
Dak? Yeah. He didn't play well. They got shut out. I mean, I understand that was a pass for a touchdown, but honestly, I don't think that was a good pass. I hate to
It was a good pass.
No, it wasn't a good pass.
Any ball that hits the guy in his hands, especially in his hands where he doesn't really have to.
I'm not saying catchable. It was definitely catchable. I think my 3-year-old maybe could have caught it.
He could have.
I'm saying
putting money on it.
I don't think it was a great pass. Did it not hit a cloud? I mean, That's not the pass.
But no. When you're talking about a guy that doesn't normally catch passes, you kind of need to throw it like that. Like, you don't want to bullet it in there because he doesn't normally catch passes.
I'd have to see that whole play again.
He just short-armed it.
No, I know, but I mean, I'd have to see that whole play again where he threw it because he seemed like he could have thrown it a little bit in a better spot. I'm not saying the guy shouldn't have made the catch. I'm just saying for that pass, that wasn't a great pass.
You're getting a little too peaky. A little too peaky. He could have caught that for sure.
Okay.
And
he could have. I'm not saying he could have. I think it was a better pass. I bet Dak will come in here and tell you it was a better pass.
You think?
Yes.
I don't know about that.
I didn't mean to go down that tangent by showing that clip.
all right. Well, just to
basically what he's showing is
we did go down.
It's the only Olawale clip I had. So.
I'm fascinated with the fact that you can go and get it.
Yeah,
right.
You didn't know
it was
queued up. Yeah,
it definitely wasn't queued up in our pre-production meeting, Kent. We did not talk about that, did we?
All right. Well, going back to Jason Witten, just to close on that topic for now for today's show. During his last year, we were already talking about him kind of slowing down in the way he was already playing. And you started noticing that. Obviously, he's about to turn 37 in May, getting up there in age. But when you have a guy that retires and comes back, there's a difference there. And it usually doesn't go the way you want it to go. Even though it was just 1 year, how much do you think this will affect the way he performs on the field?
I'll be very interested to see, because you're talking about a guy that already wasn't a fast guy, not necessarily a guy that's quick twitch. Maybe that means that there's not a huge difference because he never was really quick, right? And he was crafty. And maybe craftiness doesn't leave as quickly as a year, right? So maybe you don't see a huge difference. I will be very interested to see it, though, because if you're doing anything athletic, you take a year off from that form of training, and there's going to be some difference. Like, you got to work your way back up to that. You don't just walk back in and all of a sudden everything is back. I do know he's a consummate worker. So if he's a consummate worker, then maybe this offseason he can regain a lot of whatever he had gone down due to inactivity or not working out in a football kind of way.
You think he was working out last year?
I would bet.
This is just pure speculation.
Maybe not at the level as an NFL player.
But you know how some of these guys that retire, they still
work out.
Yeah.
They still want to get that sweat. Like, we all work out. It's just what you do, right?
Let's not forget, too, that, a lot of players, when they stop playing, we've said it 1,000 times, they go one way or the other. They look really small or they kind of balloon up. But he was on TV more than he ever was as a player. So obviously his appearance and stuff was important to him. Changed his hair and everything. So it was different. Now, Cohen, like you said, he's not the only player on this team.
Maybe he just grew without having to wear a helmet. Yeah. Wearing a helmet that affects
you can't leave that
growth.
alone. You just had to go back in on that. I thought we were just gonna just comb over that part. But anyway, go ahead.
When you're talking about being off for a year, coming back, and what kind of shape are you going to be in? Do you get it? Does it all come back to you? There's two players on this team that are going to be looking at that, and both of them, their last game that they played was in the Pro Bowl. Travis Frederick, Jason Witten. Mm-hmm. So they're coming in. They're a high-level player. They still were playing at a high level, but they've been out a year for different reasons, obviously, and it'll be interesting to see. But if they can get these guys to come back and play at that level or close, I mean, think about how different this team is from a year ago at this time.
Yeah,
or
that's
a year
actually
ago,
a really great point.
Frederick and Witten and even Amari Cooper for a whole offseason and full year. We'll see if they get anyone in free agency. But
how old is Frederick?
He's probably
is he 30?
28.
28. Okay, so he's still relatively young. And the reason why I make that distinction is because, again, you and I know, because we've approached both of those ages. We've already been at both of those ages.
27.
There's a big difference between getting your body to bounce back from being inactive at the age of 27 than it is at the age of 37.
Yeah.
There's a difference. And so I'm interested to see, as an older guy, can you get your body back to doing the kinds of things. Like, here's the thing, like when you start talking about stuff like cutting, and this will probably resonate with a lot of our listeners out there, when you get to your upper 30s, early 40s, if you're used to playing basketball and you don't play basketball for a long time and then you go out and play basketball, you have pains that you never knew there was something there to actually hurt, because you're not used to the torque. You're not used to the cuts You've had this experience.
Did you hear this conversation today?
No.
Oh, that's funny that you said that. Somebody came by today and asked if we were playing basketball.
Yeah.
And next week, because the Conference USA tournament's at the Star, and we played last year, and so I'm like, I'll try to get out there. I thought maybe you'd heard that.
No, I didn't. But you've had that experience. I remember us talking about it. Like, I did it with racquetball. First time I played racquetball when I hadn't played in a long time, it hurt. And it hurt because, you're not used to the torque. And the older you get, the harder it is for your body to adjust to cutting and bending and all that kind of stuff. That's the part I'm interested to see if Jason Witten, if his body can handle that. Because what happens a lot of times, you end up injured because your body's not used to it. That's where I'll be interested to see. Not so much is he as slow as he always was or faster than he was or whatever. I think it's going to be more, can his body handle the rigor of doing something he hasn't done for a year?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we'll get into DeMarcus Lawrence and David Irving a little bit and Randy Gregory. A lot of stuff going on here with the Cowboys.
Kaboo, Texas is 3 days, 6 stages, over 100 artists, including The Killers, Lionel Richie, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Ms. Lauryn Hill, Kid Rock, Alanis Morissette, Little Big Town, the Avett Brothers, Counting Crows, Pitbull, Sting, the Black Eyed Peas, and the list goes on. Don't miss Kaboo, Texas. Single day and 3-day passes are on sale now. Visit KAABOOTexas.com to get your passes today.
If you're like me and you love... if you have a thing, then cutting the cord is scary. But then I found out I could switch to DirecTV Now and still get the live sports I love. No satellite needed, no bulky hardware, no annual contract, just...
Get the live sports you love. Try DirecTV Now for $10 a month for 3 months. Visit DirecTVNow.com. DirecTV Now. More for your thing. That's our thing. Use code REALDEAL. Limited time. Price for a little package. After 3 months, renews monthly at full price. Currently minimum $40 unless canceled. Prices may change. New subscribers only. Cancel anytime. Content varies by package and may be limited. Restrictions apply.
Do you want the most interesting, up-to-the-minute Dallas Cowboys news straight from the Star in Frisco? How about exclusive and on command? That's right. News and nuggets you can't find anywhere else. With our exclusive Cowboys content on Alexa, you can have all the answers, secrets, stories, and more. What's Stephen Jones thinking during a game? What's Joe Looney's favorite pregame meal? We take your questions to Cowboys players and coaches, and you can hear the answers directly back to you. Just say, Alexa, open Dallas Cowboys.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, alumni, and cheerleaders. That's not all, though. You'll get to talk X's and O's with Senior Director of Player Personnel Will McClay, and of course with yours truly, me, Brian Broaddus. You can trust the official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
While a player could look good on paper, it's when he's out on the field that you really find out what he's made of. That's why the Cowboys rely on more than just stats and scouting reports when building their team. When picking a tractor, it's why you should rely on more than just specs and features. You've got to take it out and put it to the test. The Cowboys did when they named John Deere their official tractor. Experience one for yourself. Visit myjohndeeredealer.com/football.
Back to the break.
All right, now let's move on to DeMarcus Lawrence. Big topic this week. He was issued the franchise tag, $20.5 million. Sounds pretty good, but maybe not to DeMarcus because he is trying to secure his future and, work into something else. Now, there's still time to negotiate a deal, I believe, until July 15, right? And they can still get to that point. But as it stands right now, what do you think is going to happen here? Is he going to sign it? Could he miss OTAs? Could he hold out to kind of wait? Like, what's the status?
And there's another factor in there that we talked about yesterday that Derek and I think are on different, spectrums of this about what this means. But his shoulder surgery that he needs, he has a torn labrum, he needs that procedure done, and he sounds like he's waiting on this.
This is something okay, let me ask you real quick. I read the report, and this is something I don't really understand as to why wait on the surgery. Like, if you need it, you're gonna need it, right?
Yeah, but that's I think that's the point of what Nick's getting at. Finish saying what you're saying. Let's see if it answers her question.
It sounds like, and I haven't talked to DeMarcus about this or really talked to him at all. except for Chuck E. Cheese, but he wasn't talking about.
That's so random.
Yeah, but he basically was saying that, I think he's just saying, I can do this at my own time. I would like to get this thing done, but if this thing drags out, then I'll do it whenever I sign the deal, and then that means he could miss part of the season, and they're paying $20.5 million, which is
right.
I don't know math, 1.2, 1.3 million per game, and missing 4 or 5 games because of that. So that's going to be real interesting to see. I don't think there's a rift yet. But if the longer he holds on that, I think it will be.
I'm worried. I'm worried personally.
Yeah.
Because I do think that, and I don't know that he is or is not using this as leverage, but I think he can. And I do believe, I know there's some that believe it's not leverage. I do believe it's leverage, because the way I look at it is, if you're him, you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, well, basically in a scenario where, let's be honest, the CBA doesn't give players a whole lot of leverage in this situation. Really none at all. But the one piece that he has, it times up that he has an injury. So let's assume for a second that he says, okay, well, I'm not going to have the surgery until I get a long-term deal. All right? That makes a situation where one or two things happen. Either the Cowboys get him a deal sooner so that he can go ahead and get the surgery so he can be ready for the season, or they wait up until the last minute and get a deal. Then he has to get the surgery or play with a bum shoulder for the rest of the year. Or they kick in, it gets past that deadline, and then it has to be either you sign the franchise tag or nothing. And he says, okay, I'll sign the franchise today. I'll go get the surgery tomorrow. So basically, you're going to pay me the franchise tag for a year for me to sit and do nothing because I'm going to have to rehab, right? And so for me, I look at that and I'm like, that gives him some leverage. Now you can grade it out and say, how much leverage does he have? Does that then create bad will with the organization and in a situation where he wants them to actually give him a long-term deal and trust him? He's the right kind of guy. All those things are valid, but I think in a scenario in a CBA where there's very little leverage given to players, I think this does give him some, and that worries me because I look at this right now and I'm saying, man, this defense took so many steps ahead this year. I would hate to see anything happen that takes them backwards. And having that kind of guy as your primary pass rusher and the leader of, by the way, that defense, I just think there's a lot that can go wrong. So I'm hopeful that both these guys are just they're having these conversations, and really behind the scenes, it's much more amicable than that, and that he's not thinking about this as leverage. And the Cowboys are really in good faith trying to find a great deal, and everybody wants to get to the bottom line, and everybody's on the same page that we're going to pay you. We just need to fine-tune this to get it to the right dollar amount. If all that's happening, I love it.
It's not.
If it's not, that bothers me.
It's not happening because they offered him a lowball deal this week. And I say lowball because that's how you negotiate, right? That's what
and you have to work it.
That's what you do. But why did you start it last week? Why not after the Rams game? You like them. You need them. Why are we starting all this then, especially when there's a surgery? I think that's the biggest issue there.
Right. And doesn't that beg the question, if that continues, you don't have a deadline until July. Right. Problem with that is if he holds out on the shoulder surgery, that means it affects your season.
And then he starts getting frustrated, and then that starts causing issues because now you're not very, how would you say this? Like,
not
workable, but negotiable in a way. Like, you start, if I'm upset with you.
You take it personal.
Yeah, you start.
Oh, I thought you were going to go another way with that, which let's not forget, who the ringleader of the Hot Boys
exactly,
were. And these guys.
Oh, sorry.
It was not William, but he's in there. He's not the ringleader.
My boy William.
Yeah. No, he's a member.
He's a member,
but he's not.
Just not the leader. Okay.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. You don't want those guys frustrated. You don't want the Antoine Woods and the Daniel Rosses and all that. Then our website's frustrated if everyone, I mean. So we've got to. That's a big deal, though. It's a big deal because he meant so much to that locker room.
Yeah.
And without him, this would not be the same. Even with what happened last year, this whole Hot Boys thing or defense, it would just not be the same without him.
I honestly think he's more valuable than just a player.
Right.
He is more than just a defensive end.
Okay, that's being said, and this is what I hope he understands, and I think he does. And we're just kind of speculating on stuff we don't know a lot about. But I think that. Would you say that he is an elite pass rusher? Your hesitation makes me.
No, but it depends because that's a classification.
Is he a top
Is he
5
Khalil
pass rusher? Top
in my
5?
opinion, yes.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I
don't think he's Khalil Mack, but I think that there's probably 2 or 3 guys that are above everybody else.
See, I don't think he is an elite pass rusher. I didn't say defensive end. I just meant pass rusher off the edge. I don't know if he is. I think he's really, really good. But the other things, the leadership, the run stopping ability, the stuff that he does as a player, he is a valuable player.
Okay, so let me turn that.
All I'm saying is don't. I'd hate for him to play that game. I'm holding out. I'm have surgery later. I miss 6 games because that changes. It might not change a lot for this year, but it's going to change his next contract.
So when you ask that question, is he an elite pass rusher? Outside of Khalil Mack, is there anybody better than him?
Well, I mean, Von Miller is better than him.
Okay. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking, give me some names. Quantify
Clowney
this
better?
for me a little bit. I wouldn't say Clowney's better, but that's my opinion.
I mean, is Frank Clark better? You know, again, they don't do everything. And again, I just said pass rusher because that's what you're paying for. But really what I'm trying to say is what makes DeMarcus Lawrence one of the 5 best defensive ends in the league is the total package.
Right, I get you.
The total package of I'm going to stop the run. I'm going to be here. I'm going to play through injury, which he did last year. I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to sign my tender right when it's – I'm not going to do what the guy
I'm going to
did.
lead the right way, too, because that's the thing. That's a big key.
So all I'm saying is if you start going down that road of, I'm going to do things kind of for me, then the overall package of what this guy is and what he brings to the locker room might change a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
And even outside the field and the locker room stuff, even just being on the field, even if he doesn't get to the quarterback, he's not recording those sacks. I mean, that opens up opportunities for the other guys on the line, and that's why you've seen so much success in this line. I believe so, and he makes everyone there better.
And one of those guys is facing a suspension, and Randy Gregory on the other side. So I don't know if
that I think that has a way of affecting this whole negotiation as well, because he probably looks at that as a little bit more leverage for himself as well.
I think tight end has changed over the last week to defensive end. Of before Witten, I'm like, you better go get you a tight end in this draft.
Right.
Now it's like you don't have to go get one. Defensive end, I think it's you better go get a defensive end in this draft. I really think you need to. You can't count on Gregory at all. You know this. You just can't.
Well, that didn't change though. Like
No, but
you
so-
should have known that last year.
Okay.
Like, and that's not
I'm
about
not-
him. That's just where he is
I'm
right
not-
now. You can't trust the
I'm
fact
not
that there's not
finished.
gonna. Okay.
I'm not finished because all I'm saying is Taco's not reliable. You can't count on him after 2 years. Dorrance Armstrong did not show you enough his first year that you're like, wow, what a player.
He's our guy. We're going with him. Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's not going to develop, but and then
He has potential.
yeah,
At least.
I like him, but I'm just saying there's a spot there. And really, truth be told, if Taco was playing really well and Gregory wasn't facing any suspensions and Dorrance Armstrong did look pretty good and DeMarcus Lawrence was going to be fine and that badass defensive end is sitting there in the 3rd round, for some reason, you'd still still do it.
But not only that, but this goes back to what you said about tight end as well. You take your pick toward the back end of the 2nd round and use it on a defensive end pass rusher. The chances that guy is going to be good enough to be better than guys that have been here for a year or more next year is relatively small. So
is there a position where that's not the case?
No, and that's my point. And that's where I say I don't know that that makes it to where, hey, we gotta
he's not going to be better than Connor Williams, like 58.
Well, that was the problem with Connor Williams. He needed a year, right, to kind of get there. But there have been other guards that we've seen that, guard and safety, because of how late they draft the best one.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get those guys to be a lot better early on. But I personally believe that you're kind of saying it's the same thing as what you said about tight end. I think, when you look at defensive end, because of where you're drafting, I don't think you're going to get somebody that's going to be a consequential player next year specifically. And if that's the case, then you look at it and you say they may not beat out a Taco. They may not beat out a Dorrance Armstrong next year.
True.
Those guys may be better. At least for next year, and then you see what happens beyond that,
Yeah. Now, you hit on Randy Gregory, and I wanted just to get into that topic a little bit. David Irving, again,
Thank you for
suspension.
your
I
services.
think the Cowboys have moved on. They've shown how they are, their feelings towards him.
Bye.
Randy Gregory, on the other hand, it's a different story. We know the history with him. He's now once again suspended. We don't know the exact time or any specific details on that. But according to Jerry Jones, they seem to be very supportive and backing him up a lot. Do you guys have any issues with how the Cowboys are kind of handling this situation as far as, I'm trying to find a nice way to put it because I don't
think anybody really understands what all is happening because behind closed doors and everything that he's being asked to do and
by the league
and all that. So and then what and I know Brian can talk about this a little bit more too, but not to put you on the spot, but I mean being at the combine,
criminal. It's criminal what the league is asking him to do. It really is.
That's the way to jump into a show.
Come in with lead with the lead, right?
I thought you said
for a second. I thought you were calling him a criminal.
No,
I'm like, whoa.
It's criminal what the league is asking him to do, and I'll probably get fired for saying that, but it's true. And they're not helping Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory.
And you're talking about the league, right?
I'm talking about the league.
Gotcha.
When him having to fly to do this and fly to do that and take 10 tests and do this and do this, I think Randy Gregory did his absolute best. Randy Gregory, though, has a sickness. Okay? You're not helping his sickness by taking him away from any type of help he can get. His family is in that locker room. His family is on that football field. His family is his support staff. Is it a problem with the relapse? Yeah, it is. But he's not alone in relapse. He's not the only person that's ever relapsed. But what the league has asked him to do as a player to maintain his eligibility is criminal.
Now, could this have been something that he didn't necessarily take some drugs and fail the test, but just maybe missed the test?
What we do know, here's what we do know.
Right.
Yeah, here's what we do know.
So maybe it's not to the point where he actually relapsed in that.
Right. Yes. What we do know is, according to the league policy, that if you don't take a test that you're scheduled to take, it's like a failed test.
Yeah.
So although we may not know the exact circumstance for him in this situation, we know that that is a possibility.
Yes.
So yes, all those things are possibilities here. When you say he is in trouble with the league again, he could have not taken a single drug at this point, and it could have been something like, I'm not saying one way or the other, but I'm just saying that is definitely a possibility.
Which is maybe why Jason Garrett, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, they're backing him up so much.
Yeah, it's not black and white on this.
Absolutely. But you have to control what you can control as a team. And like I just said, that now going into the draft, and I know that you're not, you're at 58, but that's my number one priority now is defensive end. I'm not saying you have to go at 58, but my number one priority would be getting a defensive end. And it's not just because of Gregory. It's because Taco hasn't done anything. Dorrance.
Please read our report. We wrote about him yesterday.
Taco?
Yeah, we wrote about Taco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, read about all that. That's kind of where, that's the one guy that has been drafted that you kind of go, geez, what happened there? And there's still time. There's still time. He started off, I thought, pretty well in training camp. Yeah. Get the Giants game week 2, gets a sack. You're kind of like, oh, he's part of the rotation.
Here we go, yeah.
And then he misses 5 games because of a shoulder injury, which he had fixed. Now that's the big unknown. And Nick's not wrong there. I would argue with him too. Double dip this thing. Go defensive tackle, go defensive end. If you saw what happened to this team in December in Indianapolis, in Los Angeles, you guys were all there. I was sitting in a beautiful studio here at the Star. But that you saw what happened. You got beat up a little bit up front. The human log was playing with a hurt. He was hurt and he got his shoulder fixed and all that. But you need more help there. Him, Collins, those guys. They didn't have enough depth at that position. They got away with it all year because you had Leighton Vander Esch and you had Jalen Smith playing inside. That helped them kind of to control the run a little bit. And then with a box player occasionally. But they've got to get better. Nick's not wrong there. If it's defensive end, if it's defensive tackle, I have absolutely no problem. Rod Marinelli and them spent a lot of time at the combine with these guys. But what's Marinelli going to do? I'm going to coach the orphans. I kind of like the young guys here. Kind of like, and I love Rod Marinelli. But gosh, Rob, stand on the table and bang out for these guys to fight and get defensive line help for yourself. You're a great coach. Go out there and get yourself some help. Make Kellen Moore uncomfortable having to argue for offensive players. That's your job right now.
And you know better than anybody else, and I'll let Amber take this to break before your answer. But this draft seems like it's so heavy on defensive tackle.
Nick's right.
That there are going to be guys available to you in the second and third round that are quality players.
Absolutely. And again, the Cowboys spent a lot of time. I know they spent an hour with this Zach Allen, who's a defensive end from Boston College, kind of a taller clone of Tyrone Crawford. Guy could play the end, can play tackle. We watched him. We covered him at the Senior Bowl. He played good as a 3 technique. So looking for a guy with a little flexibility there.
Now, Brian Broaddus was able to attend the combine like every year and be there watching like a creeper, but observing all these players. He's going to tell us who stood out during this combine after the draft. After the break.
It's one of those things.
While a player could look good on paper, it's when he's out on the field that you really find out what he's made of. That's why the Cowboys rely on more than just stats and scouting reports when building their team. When picking a tractor, it's why you should rely on more than just specs and features. You've got to take it out and put it to the test. The Cowboys did when they named John Deere their official tractor. Experience one for yourself. Visit myjohndeeredealer.com/football.
It's time for Tailgate with the OtterBox boys.
OtterBox, the makers of those crazy protective phone cases?
The one and only. They're also wild about protecting parking lot parties from sad drinks. It's why they made elevation tumblers.
Rumor around the crockpot is they're made from stainless steel with a copper lining to keep temps hot or cold.
True, they even come in 7 different sizes, up to 64 ounce, the growler.
I like how OtterBox drinks. Thanks.
And that's been Tailgating with the OtterBox boys. Check out all the colors and sizes of their elevation tumblers at otterbox.com.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Playmaker, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The Playmaker includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized Intense Therapy lip balm and a Cowboys can cooler. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word Cowboys. The Jack Black Playmaker, $10, free shipping.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, alumni, and cheerleaders. That's not all, though. You'll get to talk X's and O's with Senior Director of Player Personnel Will McClay and, of course, with yours truly, me, Brian Broaddus. You can trust the official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
A man's Stetson doesn't just protect him from life's elements. It projects an unstoppable and legendary spirit, just like the men wearing silver and navy on the field every Sunday. Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. They are still the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find Stetson hats in the Pro Shop or at Stetson.com today.
Brian Broaddus. Me, Brian Broaddus.
Back to the break.
What was that?
Wow, is that a new?
Awesome.
Do you use that as a lead-in for something else you do?
What was that? What
Did you not hear it?
No, I'm sorry. I had my headphone off. One more time,
okay.
Kit, please.
Oh my God.
Rock me, Broaddus.
Me, Brian Broaddus.
Okay, I do not feel comfortable. This is very inappropriate.
Brian says, "Whoa."
You know what else is?
This is inappropriate.
You know what else is inappropriate and makes
Falco,
people
Rock Me
uncomfortable?
On.
You know what song that was? That was "Rock Me Amadeus."
Yeah, from Falco, I think is the.
Is that Falco?
I think so.
Yeah.
That might have been his only one.
Yeah.
Tell me about inappropriateness.
Inappropriateness and uncomfortable.
You lead the league
is,
in that.
is when you make adjustments down south.
Yeah.
Making wedgies and stuff like that. It's the off season.
Never good.
Off season is a time for trades, which sometimes you can make one in the middle of the year, Cooper. But you can also make trades in the off season. Time to trade in your old tighty whitey underwear and get Tommy John. TommyJohn.com/Cowboys. Get 20% off your first order. Tommy John, the leader in underwear.
Okay.
First round pick, Tommy John.
Well, after that intro for Brian Broaddus, I hope the report you got for us is good.
What do you want to know?
Tell me about some of the guys that stood out. Obviously, according that would be fitting for the Cowboys and a possible prospect.
Yeah, I think what you have to do is you have to look at where you're at in the draft. Of course, you don't have a first round pick. Now, again, Jerry Jones, we've seen him kind of do some magical things. He might give up, his 58 and his next year's 1 and try and get back in the back end of this thing. But I think you're looking at guys in this draft like a Jalen Ferguson, from Louisiana Tech, a DeAndre Walker from Georgia, if you're talking about defensive ends, maybe LJ Collier from TCU. Those are the kinds of guys you're looking at. Anthony Nelson. I mentioned Zach Allen. These are guys that are all defensive ends that could potentially slide to you at 58. All really good players. You're not going to have a crack, though, I think, at a guys like Montez Sweat. If we all know Montez Sweat, Mississippi State, he's 260 pounds, ran 4.41 or 4.42. It was incredible. But there's probably 6, 7 first-round defensive ends in this draft. It'd be kind of a nice draft to have a first-round pick if you're looking for one of those top guys. But where the Cowboys are looking, there's going to be a second-round guy with legitimate grades there that they're going to have an opportunity to grab. And I mentioned those guys again, Collier and Ferguson, Walker, those types of guys. Yeah. Allen was another one.
Like every year, we always end up coming up with 2 names that we're excited for, like hoping that the Cowboys grab. Could you give us 2 of the names that you're excited for right now?
Well, all the guys that I mentioned, I think would come in, and you start thinking about, okay, well, how would they compete? Would they immediately be part of the rotation? I think any one of those guys that I mentioned, like I said, DeAndre Walker, I really liked him. He's more of a he's a stand-up, plays like a stand-up linebacker at Georgia. But you'll see him put his hand down and rush the passer. He plays the run well. He can extend on people. Ferguson is a guy that's 6'4", 260 pounds. He could also, he's got length to him. He's kind of like the guy that Rod Marinelli would like. I mentioned also that Zach Allen, that he could play the defensive end spot, probably play left defensive end really well for you, and then kick inside and play some of the 3 technique or the under tackle. Any one of those guys would be you're trying to find guys that could come in and rotate. You could maybe find a potential starter out of that. I think guys like a guy like Ferguson, Collier, Walker, I think those are your potential starters, with Allen, kind of Ledbetter, another guy from Georgia, being like the backup type guys if you're looking for rotational players.
Right.
Who's the I'm going to flip it to the offensive side of the ball, even though I know defensive line is important, but number 4 for Georgia, receiver?
Hardman.
Hardman?
Yeah, Hardman. Yeah.
Where's he getting drafted?
Well, he's a guy that people have kind of talked about. There's Cole Beasley, and I know we've talked about Cole Beasley's. He had a tweet the other day, I believe.
I don't think we've even hit the.
Oh, he's been tweeting a lot today.
Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley was talking about that these like that slot receivers grow in trees, don't grow in trees, or grow in trees.
Yeah.
In this draft, you talk about
they're kind of growing.
They're growing. It's kind of like you're kind of looking up at the tree and go, wow, okay, I'll take the kid from South Carolina. I'll take that kid from Clemson. Hey, by the way, where's that kid from Georgia? Where's he fit? That's kind of where I think when you talk about guys like Samuel from South Carolina, Hardman is from Georgia. He's a guy that's a little bit of an undersized guy, so you'll be very familiar with how he looks style Cole Beasley. This guy's a legitimate track guy. He's a 4.3 guy. You watch him play, he can actually make plays down the field.
Well, that's my question. How many of these guys that you're seeing as
Andy Isabella was another guy that ran really well. Andy Isabella from UMass, University of Massachusetts, ran really well at the combine. 4.31 was his time. He was tied for the fastest time at the combine. With my guy from Ohio State, Paris Campbell.
Yeah. When you start looking at these guys, how many of these guys, and I even think about this in free agency, because if it's
Thank you guys for having the draft show today, by the way.
If it's my decision, and I'm going with a veteran guy, I would look at a guy like Golden Tate before Cole Beasley, mainly because he can play inside and outside. How many of those guys coming out of college that you look at as slot guys can also play outside? Because to me, that's the kind of guy I would want.
think the best guy at that would be Deebo Samuel from South Carolina.
Love the name Deebo. It's always
and he's and you watch him play, and he clearly can make plays inside and out. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll tell you, your guy, Lil Jordan Humphrey, can be a guy. Let me tell you this though: where do big tight ends play? Where do big tight ends, or those athletic tight ends, where do they usually line them up?
In tight, like off the ball,
or in the slot?
Yeah.
Does he run any slower than one of these? Does he run slower? I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's a 4.75 guy.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you
4.7,
yeah, he ran 4.
He plays
kind
faster.
He's he does play faster than.
That's what I'm saying. You watch his tape. Is he any worse off than lining Jarwin up outside or lining Swaim up outside.
Or Noah Brown if you're going to go there.
Or Noah Brown, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're going to put a big guy in a slot, give me a big guy that knows how to separate, how to catch the football, how to play past the sticks, how to play vertical. Yeah, he's not your traditional. Oh, I could eat peanuts off the top of his head guy. Yeah. This is a taller man. This is what big This is where you want it. This is where you want to sit there and look at. Don't get fooled. This is where we get in trouble. We fall in love with the measurables. We fall in love with he can't do this. He can't do this. He can't. He's too slow. If you watch Humphrey play and you watch every single Texas game and you live and die on plays he makes,
he made a lot of them,
and he makes a ton of them. Yep. So I think that it's not always the small little guy that plays inside, even though that's what we've grown accustomed to. Mm-hmm. Kind of have an idea of where bigger players.
Well, we've seen when being small, it's a problem.
Right. Well, frankly, he was the best. He was actually the most consistent playmaker they had on the team last year.
Yeah,
Colin Johnson was good, but he wasn't as consistent.
I love Colin Johnson.
He wasn't as consistent as LJ.
Yeah, I love Colin Johnson.
Or Lil Jordan as his mom called.
I think one of the issues of Beasley he actually benefited from over his career here is the fact that Dez Bryant did not play in the slot. Because if Dez was really playing and he got taken out of games at times. Mm-hmm. If Dez was really a complete tight end like the Julio Jones and all those guys, he would line them up all over the place. What'd I say?
You said tight end.
Sorry, deep wide receiver. He would like they're going to do with Amari Cooper. Line him up. But when you do line up a guy in the slot, then where does Beasley go? Off the field, or he's not going to go to the outside.
And that's why whoever you put in that spot needs to be got to go inside or out. So you have that flexibility.
He'll never say
there's your Golden Tate argument, right?
Right. That's exactly right. I think he'll never admit it, but I think he benefited from the fact that Dez was kind of limited in where he could play. So therefore, he got to play on the slot a lot more because you got to get Cooper where the best matchup, but you don't want to take that guy off the field. So
yep.
You're absolutely right. Again, there's plenty of guys in this draft. I mean, I mentioned Andy Isabella. Penny Hart didn't go to the combine, but he's he's Georgia State, and you watch him play. I mean, the guy makes a ton of plays. So don't feel like that you can't. And I gave you little bitty guys, and I gave you a really big guy. Mm-hmm. You could find slot players. The fact that they're even tinkering with putting Cooper inside tells you all you need to know. That they feel like, okay, we'll do whatever we have to do to make sure we work out slot. You got Jason Witten now, too, to catch underneath stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your hope.
Yeah.
That helps. Yep.
Well, after mentioning Cole Beasley, and you brought up one of the tweets, some of the things he tweeted was basically asking or saying to one of the fans, 20 million guaranteed. Yeah. And after hearing that and kind of seeing where the Cowboys are starting to transition into as far as the wide receiver position, is it fair to say that they have definitely moved on?
No.
Well, no.
Not yet.
20 million is what he's saying. That doesn't mean somebody out there is willing to pay him 20 million guaranteed. So it may all come back to a point to where the Cowboys are like, okay, this number we can do. We can't do 20, but this is a number we can do.
He's a mercenary. He's going to go wherever the highest money is. So if it's at the Jets, I heard a couple of teams. The Jets were a team I heard was mentioned as far as a destination for him. But you got to think about how.
I think he can definitely find a team that will take him.
Yeah,
but how much is in it? You think there's a team out there that's going to pay him 20 million guaranteed?
Remember we thought about Terrence Williams?
I could see it happen.
Remember we thought Terrence Williams was going to get paid? He really didn't get paid.
Right.
He really didn't. I mean, every time you think, oh, that guy's going to get paid, he might come with a hat in hand deal. I think that Cole Beasley's looking at $20 million. I think he's looking for a $9 to $10 million signing bonus. And then, okay, make my salary $1 million. And then, okay, in the second year, make it $8 million more. Mm-hmm. I think that's what he's trying to do. I don't think he's trying to say, okay, give it to me all up. Well, he wants it all up front in the form of a signing bonus. He'll take less base to make this work. That's where somebody's going to have to be creative.
But that's my problem with it is if you're saying 20 million guaranteed, I look at Cole Beasley if I'm somebody outside of this organization and I say, I don't really know what I'm getting. Do I want to guarantee him, even if we put it kind of mix it up like that over a couple of years, do I want to guarantee this guy $20 million because I really don't know what I'm getting?
This is going to sound terrible. I would guarantee Earl Thomas $20 million before I guarantee Cole Beasley $20 million.
I would too. Yeah. No doubt about it.
And the wild card to all this is what the offense is going to look like. And I think it factored in Jason Witten coming back. I think that they see what they think Kellen Moore is going to do and how he's going to be able to factor in here. But would you say I'm going to go off topic a little bit with Beasley still, but do you think he's a Dallas Cowboy right now? Like, it doesn't matter where he goes after this, like, he will always be a Dallas Cowboy? Or does he have still enough years that he could finish?
It depends on what he does, because if he goes somewhere and just has one blow-up year, he's no longer just a Dallas Cowboy.
Right. I just think some of these players, and Beasley's a good example, a fan favorite type of guy, and this isn't really my idea. It was brought to me yesterday, and it makes a lot of sense. These guys do need to realize that, yeah, there may be a little bit more money over here right now, but in the course of 20 years, 30 years, Dallas, I mean, look at some of these guys that are still doing stuff, still getting paid to do different things because they are Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't just end when you're
doing our
playing.
pre and post game shows,
right? And so I'm just saying.
I mean, that's the thing.
true.
There's a lot of opportunity with being a lifetime or a long-term Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, and that's why I asked: is he still? He's been here, a few years.
I think he's a mercenary myself.
Yeah, he's going for the money.
There's people will still remind you.
He has 3 kids.
Yeah,
they're all babies, basically.
Yeah, there are people that remind you that he quit on you, though. There are people that remind you that he quit. That he had to be asked to come back. And there's people that still haven't forgotten that. He quit on the team.
One of the guys that was really upset by that also quit on the team too.
Yeah.
Did he? I mean, I hate to say it, but he did.
That was a little different, though. I think. Me and you had this conversation. Yeah, I think it's a little bit different just because.
But in his
they weren't sitting at training camp, and then all of a sudden he was like, "I'm going home." Like, that's different.
True, but he waited till the draft. I mean, it's different. Okay, but he also said in his little press conference or his little statement, this team is really good and it has a chance to do something, and I want to be a part of it. He wasn't thinking that, but back then he wasn't.
Well,
I love Jason. I'm just saying.
You're right. You're right. That's a part of it. But I think
being
also
honest, you're being critical.
No. I think that's actually, and I said the same thing last week. If you remember when we had the show, I said the same thing. Yeah. I do believe, though, that I think, at least part of this, he still wants to, at the time, he probably looked at that and said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be able to go and call games on ESPN. Like,
it is
that's
once
not,
a lifetime.
That is not a situation where if I
lifetime.
pass it up now, I'll get back to it next year. So I think it was one of those situations where he probably said, those things are all factors, absolutely.
Right.
But I think part of it also was, I got this one-time shot. Man, I really just want to see. I just want to see if this is something that I can make go.
Maybe
and make the money.
Maybe should have saw it through.
Time out, though, because I understand with what you're saying about this is a one-time shot to go to Monday Night Football and all that, but that's not what his goal was. His goal was always been to do what?
Coach.
Win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Win a Super Bowl. And
yes.
Hold on. If he really thought that this football team and going into 2018 was a Super Bowl winning team, he wouldn't have worried about that shot.
Other than the fact that
he wouldn't have worried about it.
Other than the fact that if he were really, really good at it, that could have been his next 20, 25 years. Because you look at somebody like John Madden. John Madden made a career. He was a Hall of Fame. I mean, he is a Hall of Fame coach.
They know him more for broadcasting.
Exactly. He made a career out of broadcasting. So if Jason had an opportunity
and
to
neither
in
one
shot,
number one.
Right.
Madden's the game is number one.
Right. But if he had a shot in 1 year to be able to jump to a top job in that profession to see, man, am I good enough to maybe be that next John Madden? Then, yeah, you got to have to think about it. For the sake of your family, you got to think about it.
But if you're saying that would have happened if they would have been 13-3 and they just missed out on the play on the Super Bowl, and you're saying Monday Night Football,
he pushed in at 13-3. He backed that quarterback.
No,
he
I
left
get all
his
that.
friend.
I get all that.
Bye,
it might have been a tougher decision, but he still would have had to factor in, this is a once-in-a-lifetime shot. You got a family. Sometimes you make decisions because you look at the long term for your family and you say, man, this really gives my family an opportunity to be set up for generations more than where I have them right now. Like, I just think that's a part of the equation.
I think the opportunity would have presented itself again.
I don't know about that.
Something, maybe not that specific.
But I don't know about that.
I gotta go.
Bye,
hey,
Ryan.
check out. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I had to go. Check out Amber and I at 3:30 today. Periscope. We'll dive into more of this stuff. See ya.
Boom, boom. Well,
you might want to leave that tape, right?
Well, we're basically done with the show, but I was gonna say there are more opportunities that would have presented themselves.
Yeah.
Once he officially retired, and he realized that wasn't his path.
Right.
That year, he got a lot of criticism.
Yeah. Well, he learned. I think he learned really quickly that, or at least in that year, he learned that that may not be the thing that will give him that 20, 25-year career beyond football. It may now he may be solely in the boat of, I'm going to be a coach, because broadcast may not be the thing that, and it may not even be about his success, because I think if he'd have given it more time and worked at it, it's one of the reasons why I thought it's hard to put him in that situation of being on the top, one of the most high-profile shows, rather than letting him kind of work his way up. I think if he'd had another year or two to really hone his skills, I think he could have actually gotten to be pretty good at it.
But then again, he's not leaving a football team to go, cover Purdue and Indiana on,
That's exactly right.
on Saturday.
That is an opportunity that will come back around. Right?
Yeah.
That's an opportunity.
I think he was pretty good, honestly. He's not polished yet. I think what really hurt him is that we saw another guy jump right into to the spotlight, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it was like, so why isn't he phenomenal like
and
that?
by the way, a guy that he's linked to. A guy that's his boy, right? So, yeah.
And different personalities. You see Jason, you would not imagine him doing that kind of job and like talking like that in front of the camera. It's like some people have the personality for it. Yeah. Some others, it just doesn't come as natural. Like for Tony Romo, who has been successful so far. All right, well, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you guys for joining us once again. We'll be back next Wednesday at 11 a.m. with another show. Hopefully Dave will join us.
Maybe Dave will join us this
I don't know. He's gotten pretty wild out there in New Orleans.
Don't know.
All right. We'll find out. But thank you so much for Nick Eamon, Derek Eagleton, Amber Garcia. This has been The Break on DallasCowboys.com Radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this,